one of these days I'm going to turn my back on them and preach to you guys. Had a chance to catch up with a friend of mine whose son just got done with college, and his son went to Italy. He had so much planned for Italy that he didn't have enough time to get everything done. One of the things he wanted to see there was the city of Pompeii. When I talked to the altar servers before Mass, I ask them what they learned in school this week or what their favorite subject is or whatever. My least favorite subject was history. I had good Franciscan sisters who did their best to teach us, but at least during that part of the 1960s, 1970s, I wish it was 1970s, 1960s, it was all like just memorizing names and dates. So we didn't get a whole lot of stories. We get a little bit of stories about Pompeii. That's how I kind of recognize it. And then as I got a little bit older, I watched some documentaries about it. And it was just a fascinating city, I guess, for me. I think most of us know about the city of Pompeii. 1979. In the year 79, Mount Vesuvius erupted and buried that city under tons of ashes, 13 feet of ashes in one day. For some reason, it wasn't until about 1,500 years that archaeologists went to excavate the city. And when they excavated the city, they found these wonderful, colorful murals still on the walls of the houses. They found the road covered with mosaic tile, a lot of restaurants. There was a lot of stuff that told the archaeologists how wealthy this city was. I remember reading, though, that even though people saw the mount smoking, they had earthquakes going on for about a couple months before the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. The people saw all the warning signs, but they did nothing about it. And within 15 minutes of Mount Vesuvius exploding, that whole population was killed because of the poisonous gas and because of the ash that was falling. I found that situation similar to the end of the gospel today, about the master or the servant who didn't know when his master was coming back. He had all this time to do the right thing, but he chose to abuse the other servants and just to do what he wanted to do. And when his master came back unexpectedly, he was punished. I don't know about you, but I have seen that same scenario play out in my own life. I remember being a child and telling my parents, "Oh yeah, I'll get to that in a few minutes." And then I would get sidetracked, and whatever chore they had me ask me to do, I would never get done. And like the people of Pompeii, I saw my parents erupt, and I saw the poisonous gas come out. Usually it was the language. Thank goodness they only spoke the Polish to me when they were that angry, although I do know what it means now. And I wish I could say I learned my lesson as a child, but I didn't. Because even as an adult, things would happen and I would say, I'll get to it later, but it never seemed to get to that point. My sister would call me up and say, "Oh, I'm coming over this weekend." And so I thought to myself, "Oh, I got to do the dishes, I got to clean the bathroom. But she's not going to be here till tomorrow, so let me just do this stuff and I'll get to it tomorrow." And the next thing I know, my sister was ringing the doorbell, It's easy to put off the things we need to do. And if we put that in a faith context, we need to ask ourselves, what are we putting off today? Because we only know for sure, we only have this moment of life left. Are we doing what the Master has asked us to do? Or do we put it off and say, I'll get to it later? No, I'm not talking about necessarily big things, But I think sometimes we can tell ourselves that we're really good people. But sometimes I wonder if we're doing everything that Jesus has asked us to do. Not big things, but little things. How do we treat our children? How do we treat our spouse? Are they the priority in our life? Or is making money the priority in our life? You know, it's those little things that Jesus asks us to do, the corporal and spiritual acts of mercy, that sometimes I think we say, oh, that's for somebody else to do, not for us to do. These readings are meant to bring a little bit of fear into our life, not a lot of fear, but a little bit of fear into our life, to ask ourselves, are we doing everything that a good Christian is supposed to be doing? Or are we saying, that's for somebody else to do, or I'll get to it later? Like the people of Pompeii, we don't necessarily pay attention to the signs of the times around us. I remember hearing a story. It was a fictitious story. It was about two devils talking to one another. They were trying to get more souls for the underworld, and they were trying to find out the best possible way to do that. And the one young devil, who was filled with a lot of pride, as devils are, he said to the older devil, I know the best way to get more people down here. And the older devil looked at him and said, how? He said, we're going to tell people that God doesn't exist. And the older devil looked at him and smiled and said, that's been tried before, it doesn't work. He said, people look around at the world and they see the beauty and the kindness and the love out there, and they know that there is a God. Well, that just infuriated the younger devil, and he said, well, okay, then I'm going to tell them we don't exist. They can do anything they want. Older devil says, nope, that's not going to work either. They're going to see the evil in the world and know that evil exists and the devil exists. But I'll tell you what. Why don't you just go out into the world and tell them they have more time? That'll get more people down here. I remember hearing that story, and I remember thinking, you know, there's truth in that. Because I think that sometimes we think we have a lot more time left to do what God has asked us to do. So let's just take a look at our life and ask ourselves, are we really and truly living as disciples of Jesus, who care for the poor, who put the needs of other people in front of our own, or are willing to go out of their way to help others? Or do we live just with human values? The only thing we know for sure is we have this moment. So let's make this moment count.